morning, viewers or listeners. This morning I want to talk about brooding in poultry bulbs. What is brooding? Brooding is a process of providing young chicks warmth, care, and management they need during the early stage of their lives. This is done in order to keep them warm, at least for the first 3 weeks, and the process lasts for between 4 and 6 weeks, depending on you as the farmer. The temperature required in the first week ranges between 32 and 35 degrees centigrade. On the second week, you regulate the temperature to between 29 and 32 degrees centigrade, while on the third week, they require a temperature that ranges between 26 and 29 degrees centigrade, and the fourth week, you lower the temperature to between 23 and 26 degrees centigrade. What are the processes involved in brooding? The first thing you do is you get your pen, where if you are constructing newly, you make sure you get it ready, and if you have, you make sure you clean the place, fumigate at least for a period of between 1 and 2 weeks before the arrival of the chicks. Then you sterilize, clean, or wash all the equipment like the drinkers, the feeders, and all other things you're going to use in the brooder. And you carry out your booking. You make sure you book for your chicks in a reputable hatchery, because some of these products from different hatcheries, the necessary things like the marex and the likes that they're supposed to give or their breeder stock may not be all that good. So you make sure you do your findings and book in a reputable source. You are doing this in order to prevent issues or occurrences like mortality, treating sicknesses or ailments when these birds arrive. Then, after getting all this ready, you make sure you get your multivitamin, your antibiotics, and glucose ready as well. Then make sure you get your feed ready. You might formulate feed. You might decide to buy conventional feed. It depends on you. Maybe in one of these videos that I'm going to post next, I'll talk about feed formulation. So if you're formulating feed, you can always, check on my videos. Then when your chicks arrive, make sure you mix the multivitamin, the antibiotics with the glucose. Mix appropriately and place in the pen, as well as feed in the feeders. Make sure these are well placed. And don't forget, you might have lined your brooder with wood shavings. Please, I repeat, please don't use sawdust. Sawdust, like we said, is like dust. So the moment these birds are walking on the dust, they might inhale, and this might be this might cause another disease in which you're going to be treated. So the best bet is for you to use wood shavings. Get your wood shavings, sun dry, and put it, place it on the ground in the pen. And if you are using cage like what I have here, you can put it, or you use paper. Then you put in the heat source before placing your birds. When you do this, you make sure the temperature of the brooder is warm, and make sure it's regulated between that 32 and 35 degrees centigrade in which I've mentioned earlier, before placing your bird. So by the time you are placing your bird, they have feed and their water to fall back upon. Then they start eating. So during the course of all this, you make sure you are always around. That is the essence of brooding. You don't just place the birds and walk away, and you come back in the next 2 hours. If you are doing this, you are not helping the chicks, because you have to regulate the temperature. Make sure it's not too high, and make sure it's not too low. If the temperature is on the high side, you realize the birds will scatter. They will gather themselves away from the heat source. They will look for every means, of getting fresh air outside, so that they won't just die and if no one is around to correct that or to remove the heat source at that particular time, or if possible to open up the place so that they receive fresh air a bit and you now regulate the temperature, then you are working at a risk. So the best bet is for you to always be around. If possible, you have a thermometer placed in your brooder in order to always check the temperature, whether it's okay or not. Then if you know you are not using that, you look at the disposition of the birds. Like I said, if they hold it together, that means the temperature is too cold. Then if they are running away from the heat source, that means the temperature is too high for them. But when they are evenly spread and they are eating, that means the temperature is okay. But now, on the other hand, if the temperature is okay and yet your birds are huddling together, or they are having a kind of disposition, then you have to look at other things. Like, that was why I said, when you are booking, you book for your birds in a reputable hatchery. You don't just go out there and buy chicks from just a place in which you don't know the source, the breeder, and what the likely problems in which they are facing in such hatchery. Some of these birds, even the dilled, when they come, they present Newcastle disease symptoms or coccidiosis disease symptoms. So some people, they will be telling you that no, they can't have this in the first week. They can have it practically. These are the things that we have experienced. So when people are talking theoretically, then when you put it into practice, that's when you know whether it is actually tenable or it's not tenable. It is something I've experienced. Cases of chicks presenting coccidiosis symptoms in the first 3 days, or even Newcastle symptom in the first 3 days. That explains why I will say this to you. If you're going into brooding, the first day they arrive, nothing stops you from giving Lasota. This is a vaccine against Newcastle disease. So if they are coming with Newcastle, by the time you give them that, you have prevented the occurrence or the manifestation of Newcastle disease. So after there and then, you give them their multivitamins, their antibiotics, and the glucose. And like I said, you give it to them for the first 5 days of their life. Monitor the heat in the place. Make sure the temperature recommended is strictly adhered to. Make sure that's what you have in your brooder, and make sure your birds are eating well. If they are not feeding well, if they are presenting other issues, even after ensuring this, in the next video, by the grace of God, I'm going to talk about the likely things in which you can do. Thank you.